The world finally is waking up. The Make America Healthy Again movement with RFK's new food pyramid is exposing the food industry's role in obesity crisis. So they were telling us for over 50 years to eat heart-healthy grains, but our bodies were responding by building these protective shields of fat to save us from the toxin in those grains. The official guidelines discredited anyone who proposed low-carb diets. Why did this happen? Well, there's a deeper reason they wanted us eating grains, Wellness Warrior. The system didn't just break our metabolism, it hijacked our minds. Today, we aren't just talking about how to lose weight, we're talking about how to stop the deep-seated body shame and how to get our lives back. We're moving past the math and into the psychology of why our bodies and our brains have been trapped in a cycle of survival mode. I'm not a doctor. I'm a researcher of my own health and a student of the doctors I trust. I'm sharing this so you can better bring questions to your own doctors. Let's be partners in our healing, right? Your mental health and physical health matter the most. So be involved in the decisions. Wellness Warrior, if you've ever looked at a picture of yourself or yourself in the mirror and felt like a stranger, I want you to put a heart emoji in the chat because I remember being heartbroken when I was working and my friend took this black and white beautiful picture of me, but oh my gosh, was I overweight. Today, we are reclaiming our identity. That picture in our head is going to match what we look like. And in my last video, we talked about how fat is a shield, right? It protects our body. Our body is doing it, is protecting us. But if we're really honest about how that feels, so this protection, we look in the mirror and see that stranger, and it reminds me of when I was a little kid. You know how your parents, you know how to get dressed, or you know how to ride your bike around the block and you feel all adult and big, or even you want to stay out late when you're a teenager, but your parents are so scared and protective. They have all these rules trying to keep you safe. These are reasonable rules. I understand that now that I'm an adult and I have my own daughter. And of course, I want her to be as safe as possible. So they're reasonable rules. But those rules made me feel like a child, not trusted. And it made me different than my other friends because they were all allowed to ride around the block. They were all allowed to stay out later than I could. It made me feel different. We feel this deep-seated body shame because we've been told that our protective layer, that fat on our body, the thing that's keeping us looking different than everybody else, we've been told that it's about being undisciplined or lazy. So our body's protection is being twisted and presented to us as our problem, nothing to do with the food. But now that I'm a parent and I can see how clearly my parents were right, I understand what my body is. I look at it differently. We need to look at weight gain differently. Let's thank our body for putting on the weight and keeping us alive, right? Because now we're all here to hear this information rather than our body didn't do this naively, right? We are the one who were being naive, following the pack, eating the garbage just because we were told it was fine. It's not fine. Your body isn't being unfair. Your body can see the bigger picture, right? We aren't just big girls. We are following the pack, eating what the old food pyramid told us to eat, and our weight was just rising and rising and rising to the point where I was actually obese. You realize I used to choke on that word before? Why can't I say it now? Because I needed to really accept that that was my story if I wanted it to change. We can't change something we're not acknowledging, Wellness Warrior. Of course, this creates a dilemma. We feel hungry, we eat, well, we want to eat all the time, so we end up eating all the time, but we also want to lose weight. So we have this natural fear of anger. It's normal, right? When we get hungry, we look for food because that's what we're supposed to do. But food companies have taught us that the rumbling in our tummy is a medical emergency that requires a snack. There's a huge difference between I'm hungry, I should look for food, especially the history we came from, where it would take sometimes hours to catch something. And it would even have been smart to have caught something before I got hungry. There's a difference between that and fearing that my whole system will shut down, which is what we've been taught, right? That somehow being hungry, like if we don't get our kids food within minutes of them being hungry, the world is going to, no, it's not reality. But this has been pumped into our head like it's the truth. We also use food as an emotional pacifier to soothe us when we're stressed, right? When the world feels out of control. Here's the problem. Have you been on TikTok lately? Have you been on any short content feed lately? Of course, the world feels out of control. Everybody's on there talking about everything and mostly lying about how amazing things are. And for the rest of us who are living a normal life, well, then what's going on? Why is my life not perfect like this? And the world feels crazy. Now, here's the truth about what's going on. On a carnivore or keto lifestyle, we can see it clearly that satiety is what actually matters. All those influencers that you see talking about their gym routine and their morning routine and not blah, 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 that's keeping them thin, it's a bunch of garbage. And even if my gym routine is keeping me thin, is it keeping my body internally healthy? Because that's what actually matters. If I look like a model, but my heart has a problem, or my lungs, or my kidneys, or my whatever has a problem, does it matter? I can tell you with all clarity that if your body hurts, nothing else matters because I've lived it. When my hip was hurting, it was the only thing I was thinking about. I did not care about my weight. I was willing to eat my keto lifestyle, even though at the time I thought there's no way this doesn't put weight on me, all the fat they're telling me to eat. My hip was hurting that bad that I got to a point where I was like, I'm gonna try it anyway. Wellness warrior, when your body hurts, nothing else matters. And I want us also to understand that calories are a distraction to keep us frustrated and eating junk. Their junk, the junk that they make a bunch of money off us eating. They want us eating that stupidity. When we eat real animal protein with the accompanying fat, our satiety signals, they finally go off. For the first time, our body is able to access the fat that's on our body. Right? This fuel, it can not only energize itself with it, it can build structure because guess what our brain is made of? Yep, brain is made of mostly the most important organ in your entire body made of mostly fat. But that's not surprising because even this stuff right here, the skin, is made of fat. We don't understand that our entire body is made of fat and protein. Every single cell is a bunch of fat and protein, but mostly fat. Like fat is so important. Fat is so important. The less sugar we eat means we stop the internal damage. So this glycation that most of the credible doctors will actually talk about, we want to minimize glycation. So I want you to think of it as your insides are actually caramelizing, right? Or if you're a man, you can think of it as rusting, right? Whichever one, but caramelizing makes more sense. When you boil sugar and it caramelizes, it like sticks together and whatever. This sugar that we keep eating is sticking to our proteins, creating glycation. And we have proteins, like I said, in every single cell. So glycation happens everywhere in the body, in our brain, in our heart, in our kidneys, in our lungs. Glycation can happen anywhere. I know we're always talking about HbA1c and da da da, but it happens wherever there are proteins and sugar happening around each other. And since our blood goes everywhere, do we understand the risk of eating carbohydrates? I don't think we do. When we stop eating all the extra carbs and the glycation stops, our body does better. My brain fog lifted, and I didn't know I have brain. I think for a living. I think for a living. And I didn't realize I could think clearer. And now that I stopped eating the stupidity, I think clear. I remember things like that. Like, I don't have to look up as much as I used to have to look up before. The cravings stop. Oh my gosh. I don't know if that's my favorite part. It's hard for me to the thinking more clearly and the craving stopping. They're like, so they fight back and forth for which one was my favorite one. But not thinking about chocolate, being able to sit here with chocolate on my desk and not even think about eating it. This is now a prop, right? And I have more than one kind, right? I have these too. Because I don't care. Those would not have lasted a minute in my presence 8 years ago. They would have been eaten. Now they're props. Wellness Warrior. And it's not even like they're not my chocolate that I would eat. Those are actually Wellness Warrior. The cravings actually stop. We're no longer pacifying ourselves with food. We're fueling ourselves with food. We're using it for what it was meant to do, to fuel our bodies and build our bodies. It's amazing. The ultimate goal that we have isn't about a number on a scale. This is another distraction that the companies have us on that, I mean, can we understand that before we invented scales, nobody weighed themselves? How did you know you were healthy? You were running, and so running fast enough to catch what you're going to eat or running fast enough not to be eaten. That's how you knew you were healthy. Today, we're checking numbers on a scale. Like, how much I weigh matters that it doesn't. It doesn't matter that much. How much I weigh is an indication of everything that's on me, including the clothes I'm wearing. Am I wearing shoes or not? Have I gone to the bathroom today or not? What my body weighs is not an indication of my health. And okay, let's say I just check my body. I'm still, if I have inflammation going on, whether it's inflammation because I'm eating wrong or inflammation because I got hurt, is that an accurate depiction of my health long term? No, it's a snapshot in a moment. I'm not saying you shouldn't know how much you weigh. So let me just be clear about that. What I'm saying is that's one indication of a bunch of things. And what's more important is actually being in control of what you eat. For years, we promised ourselves that we would stop eating junk. And how long did that last? For me, if I made it a week, that was a lot. But when you eat real food, so that's meat, fish, poultry, eggs, and salt. When you eat real food, it feels amazing to be able to walk into any restaurant, party, event, anytime that there's junk food around and not even notice the bread basket or the dessert table because you don't care. That is the actual freedom that comes along with eating real food. And the strategy to getting there is the no negotiation rule, right? If you just stop trying to negotiate with the garbage around you. So someone say, oh, I'm going to eat less, or I'm only going to have it once a week, or like this is how they get us because we don't understand that our brain is triggered when we touch it. We don't get it. There is no way for you and I to just decide that we're only going to have it once a week, because every time we touch it, all the dopamine triggering systems start rolling again because we touched it. How far away from eating this stupidity would I actually need to be for it not to trigger me? I don't know. That's why I haven't touched it, right? Back at the beginning of my keto journey, when I was told that, oh, like dark chocolate's the way to go, it won't trigger you, it triggered me. Peanut butter cookies, like without any sugar or whatever, like it's just peanut, it's all healthy. It's not going to trigger you. It triggered me. And it didn't just trigger me to want to eat the healthy peanut butter cookies that I made. I wanted the chocolate. Now, I know there's some of you out there that are like me, where you're eating the keto-friendly snack, and then you realize that your brain is saying, oh, I want the cookies, or I want the ice cream, or whatever the thing is that you were chasing. For me, it was chocolate. I would eat, even when I was eating nuts, I would eat the nuts and then turn around and I would like think about it. I would be like in my head a little bit like, now, of course, I would never touch it because I know better. I know better. But that it came to me at all. Now, the stuff doesn't come to me. I don't think about it. We need to decide that garbage isn't food. And when I say garbage, I mean all plant food. So that's fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes. If it grew out of the ground, Wellness Warrior, understand that is not food for us. That might be emergency rations. If there was nothing else to eat, would I eat me some plants until I could catch an animal? Absolutely. I would do it. I would eat me some bugs until I could catch an animal if there was nothing else available, because I understand my body needs something to keep me moving forward. But we need to understand that we don't get to negotiate with toxins. When I eat that plant to keep myself going forward, I understand toxins are coming in. Whether the toxin is sugar or the other things that come along with plants, because, oh my gosh, I was so unaware of all the toxins in plants. Toxins that absolutely impact our health and cause our body problems. Granted, it takes years for those problems to show themselves, but they're happening. And the new question is, why would I even want to eat something that I know in the long term is going to create problems for me? And the reason we do it is because we've been fooled into thinking by companies that vegetables and fruits are healthier than animal protein. But it's not true. When we eat meat, fish, poultry, and eggs, we are giving our body all clear, right? It's the signal is clear that you're healthy again. You can do what you want to do. You can do what you need to do to make your body, so to repair yourself. That's the signal we give our body when we eat meat, fish, poultry, eggs, and salt, right? We're taking back the control that companies took away from us. And it was so sneaky, right? Because they get us to do it to ourselves. We eat that healthy vegetable and fruit, and then we crave, these silly things. We crave these things. I know not all of you it was chocolate. Some of you it's other things, but we crave those things because of the healthy vegetation that we're eating. They get us to do it in this healthy way, and then we blame ourselves for not being able to just not eat one cookie, not able to eat 3 chips. That's the setup, Wellness Warrior. Fixing our metabolism is the best life insurance policy that money can't buy for you. Fixing our metabolism, it's the most important thing you are ever going to do. We're moving from chronic management to metabolic flexibility. And that's where the real equity is, Wellness Warrior. So when you finally match your outer appearance to that youthful, vibrant spirit that you feel inside, your confidence doesn't just grow, it explodes. And that's the thing about confidence, right? It's not something that you can fake. When you're living the reality that you want to live, you feel confident. So when the internal vision of you matches what you see on the outside, it feels right and you're confident. And you know what the worst part is? But it's also the best part? What they did to us happened over years. So what we're trying to correct could take years. That's the bad part. But the good part of it is, as soon as we start to see this stuff working, so eating meat, fish, poultry, eggs, salt, when we see that it's working, immediately our confidence starts to grow. You don't just feel confident because you're at the goal. You are confident because you see the progress. They want us to believe in cheat meals. They want us to believe in taking breaks from eating healthy because the weight coming back on breaks our confidence. That's why they want us to do these silly things. But Wellness Warrior, you become more productive, more present, and more powerful in every area of your life when you eat healthy every single day, because your body is repairing you every single day. You're moving towards that goal you have for yourself. You're on your way, and it feels amazing. It's saving the internal structure, right? So your heart, your brain, it's repairing everything, right? So it's time to save your entire body, right? To save your life. This is the time. We have the information, right? We have to move from the pain of staying the same to the power of change. And I know change can be scary because we don't know the outcome, but honestly, Wellness Warrior, we have seen enough people doing this by this point to begin to truly believe, not even begin, to know that all these people doing this are doing something towards their better. And it's not about willy-nilly throwing anything at the wall. Like I said, I watch the doctors who talk about it. Why? Because I know that the doctors want us to succeed. They don't get anything from us being healthier. Think about that for a second. They're screaming about this. It's not like it's making them more money. What it's doing is it's making sure, because they're going to make the same money. Can I just be clear about that? People are still going to get into accidents. People are still going to, there's always going to be the people who want to eat junk and just aren't going to take care of themselves. Doctors are not doing this because it's going to make them more money. They will make the same. They have the same 24 hours in their office for our visits that they've always had. The reason that they want us to do it is because then they can actually treat the people who need help, the people who have actual maybe allergies to certain things. Because again, not because everybody is carnivore means that they've put down spices. So some carnivores are still eating spices, which means you're still going to have allergic reactions. The doctors want to see the people in their office that they can help. They want to see the people in their office that aren't just going to be put on a medication. If you broke an arm, they can help you, right? If anything structural happened, they can help you. If you're having relationship problems, your mental health professionals, so psychologists, psychiatrists can help you. That's why we want to see you. We don't want to see you because you're eating the wrong thing and it's causing you to think in inappropriate ways, because guess what? Your brain is part of your body. And because it's part of your body, when you eat off plan, so when you're eating standard American, Canadian, German, whatever diet, when you're eating the standard diet, your body, so your brain, will also have issues. We want to help you with things that are more relational for sure, and let the food take care of your brain functioning well. How many fewer relational problems might we have if we were eating healthy things? Have you ever stopped to think about that? If our brain was getting the actual nutrition it needed, if our brain was able to build and repair itself properly, how many relational problems would just not exist? We'd have less plaquing in the brain. We'd have less problem of in our mind if our brain was able to repair itself. To truly silence the food noise that happens and move from the shame cycle to mastery, you need to turn off the programming that tells your brain to keep overeating, wellness warrior. This is so important. You need to turn it off. And that's why you're going to watch the video that I've linked down below, silencing the food noise and turning off the overeating programming. That's the next video you're going to watch. It's the practical video that turns your psychology, like this mindset that we're talking about, into your new reality. So you're going to watch that after we do our comments, because I want to answer you guys' questions. And what do you think about this topic that we're talking about today? I'm super interested to know what you guys have to say. Corey's sitting here beside me in his chair. Yes, he does have his own chair in my office, and he's relaxing. But what do you guys have to say? Let's see it. John, together strong. Good morning, John. Nice to have you here. Please take the time, put your questions in the, if you want to ask me anything about this, I'm more than willing to answer all the questions today. I'm looking forward to hear what you guys have to say or what you think about this, my version of let's get ourselves healthy. Make America healthy again. I didn't think it was going to happen. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it. Howdy and good morning. Great to see you, Violet. This is just Susie. How you doing, Susie? Nice to have you here. So John's grass hangout and reef. Grass hangout and reef. Hey, thanks for the show. Can you give me some examples of drinks I can drink while on keto? I'm getting back to keto for the 15th time. I need some advice on how to get back on track. I'm 325, goal is 199. So you're doing keto. So things that you can drink on keto, and I'm making the assumption that, well, let's start with the healthiest stuff, and then we'll move further and further along. The healthiest thing you can you can drink on keto is water. Filtered water, ideally. Not distilled water, that's not good for our health. I know I hear a lot of people talking about drinking distilled water. It's not good for your health. There needs to be some minerals in your water. But filtered water so that you get the fluoride, bromide, like all the halides out, because halides just are not good for us in abundance. I know we need fluoride and chloride, well, chloride really, chlorine. No, sorry. Yeah, we need chlorine. We need chloride. We need chlorine in our water for keeping it like germ-free for us, and some places put fluoride in them, but we don't need excessive amounts of chlorine and fluoride. We do need chloride in our body. So just make that distinction. But so I would drink water, filtered. The next thing that I would drink, carbonated water, just because it makes it fun and, changes the drinking experience. The next level up would be flavored water. Some people flavor their water at home so they can really micromanage the carb count of the water. One thing that I figured out that's a nice way to flavor water without adding any flavoring to the actual water. If you put a wedge of lemon on your water rim of your cup, so let's say you have a glass of water and you put a lemon wedge here and you drink it. As you drink, you're inhaling the scent. A lot of our scent comes through our nasal passages, which a lot of our taste comes through our nasal passage. We don't realize that. We only think about our mouth and our taste buds, but we also get a sensation of flavorings, whatever. It's also enhanced by our nasal passages. So drinking and inhaling the lemon scent, which is why that scent up thing, makes your water taste fun. But just using a normal, like a wedge of lemon on the side, you don't add anything, so no calories come in. You still get the flavoring, and I do that all the time. However, if you're closer to the standard diet, which is what you're telling me, because your goal right now is to get back to it, then chances are very good what you'll need to do is start with some kind of flavor actually in the water, because that will probably be too light for you to taste it enough. So next move is putting your own, maybe a little bit of cut up pieces of fruit, but you don't drink the fruit, obviously. So you're cutting them just to get the flavor in there, and a little, so there will be a small amount of carb in there. And then, of course, there are dependent. I would try to go with putting a little bit of squeeze of some kind of fruit, or, right. Some people still drink flavored water that's artificially sweetened, so artificial sweeteners and etc. Now we have the problem of the carcinogens in those things. Again, it's a trading right now. If you're trying your best to get away from the standard diet where you are just out of control, have the artificial sweeteners. Let yourself transition. When you are steady and you see, like, I got this, then you can pull the artificial sweeteners out. The one thing I will say, though, is that the most important thing if you're trying to stay on track is cutting the snacking. Focus all of your attention on making sure that you eat meals to satiation. So that means that, like, if you're eating breakfast, lunch, supper, it doesn't matter. Meals to satiation. That's the best way to make sure that, because you're doing keto, that you're doing it to satiation and that you're going to make it to the next meal. As you do it, what you're going to start to, so what I'm saying, and when I say meals to satiation, don't pay attention to calorie count. Calories are not a thing. As I said earlier today, calories are a distraction that they have in front of us to keep us trying to keep what we're putting into us low enough that we're hungry all the time and we're chasing. If you eat your keto meal, protein, so make sure you finish your protein before you finish any carb on your plate. And right, so if I finish my protein, I'm still hungry. Chances are I didn't have enough protein. Get more protein. Right? Protein to carb, right? But make sure that you get enough protein in. How do I know if I've gotten enough protein in? If you're a man, Dr. Lehman says that you should be getting about 1.5 grams of protein per pound of lean body mass. If you're a woman, Dr. Lehman says you should be getting 1 gram of protein for every pound of lean body mass. So lean body mass means you're not counting the fat you're carrying. It's basically what you believe you will weigh when you're at your healthy weight, right? Like lean body mass. If you do that well, so you'll have enough protein, whatever little bit of carbohydrate you ate for fun, because we eat carbohydrates for fun. They're not a necessary thing for us to eat. Whatever little bit of carbohydrate you eat for fun will be eaten for fun. And then you should be able to make it to your next meal. Eventually, you might realize that you only need 2 meals, or even can get through on 1 meal, eating to satiation and making it a whole 24 hours. This is the beauty of eating healthy, Wellness Warrior. We start to see where we were so afraid of being hungry before, but in fact, we were hungry because we were eating the wrong thing. And that many of us, myself included, go 2 meals a day or 1 meal a day, and it's no problem. Okay. Hello, John's Grass Hangout and Reef. Violet, you're the best. Also want to know about what I can do to lower my kids' carbs. They're 7 and 8. I think the most important thing that we can do is teach them properly. So here's the thing: a 7 and an 8-year-old can understand what healthy eating is, and then you make good rules for them around eating healthy. And what I would do, and again, if I could do this all differently with my own daughter, this is what I would have done. So I'll tell you what I did originally. My daughter did not have any junk food at all, no candy, no soda, nothing. Like, so when I say junk food, I mean labeled junk food. She was allowed to have juice, milk, water as drinks. She didn't like juice, so she didn't drink it much. My daughter, 0 to 4, didn't like sweet stuff, so she drank milk and water. And then um, when she was 4, that's when I said, okay, she's allowed to have that stuff. Again, back then I didn't know what I was doing. So from 4 years old on, the rule was no junk food before noon. And but I mean, she didn't like junk food anyway, so for in my house it was never a problem. But it was when she went to grandma's or aunties or whatever, like that's where the rule really came into effect. Don't offer her any junk food before noon. Afternoon, and it had to be after she had had lunch. So she must have breakfast and lunch. If she has lunch at 2, that's when she can have junk food after that. And again, I was really flexible about when she ate because I had a really good pediatrician that taught me that children will eat when they're hungry, leave her alone. My pediatrician was from Africa. Love that that's where she was from because she taught me some really good base things. Here's what I would have done differently. First of all, there would have been no junk food. I would have leaned into the fact that my daughter never liked fruit. She liked vegetables. So that's what was her thing. She liked bland vegetables. My daughter from 0 to 6 years old liked bland stuff. So when she was very young, and part of the reason my pediatrician told me anything about how I was feeding her is I was concerned she didn't want to eat the baby banana. And my pediatrician said, well, don't feed it to her. It's like she said there was no reason for her to eat banana anyway. And she told me, like, if she likes vegetables, give her the vegetables. She doesn't have to eat fruit. That made my life so much easier. My daughter ate vegetables. She liked plain things, rice and pasta, but she didn't eat fruit, and I didn't force her. And she ate lots of vegetables. So my new rule would have been, if I had known that vegetables and all plants were just toxins, it would have been, you can have vegetation maybe like once a week, like a treat. Why? Because I would have raised her on meat, fish, poultry, eggs, and salt, and she would have loved those things because it would have been what I was feeding her. And therefore, the junk, like having a carrot once in a while or whatever at a party she has, but I feel like I wouldn't even have offered it to her. It's like if she asked me for a piece of fruit or vegetation, I would let her have it, like once in a blue moon, but I wouldn't have offered it to her, which is what I was doing. When I did standard diet, I would offer her things, like, because I was eating the stupidity. I was, oh, do you want some ice cream too? Or do you want? Now, most of the time she said no. She didn't like sweet stuff back then. But sometimes she said yes. I remember her birthday when she was 6 years old, the first time she ever touched, the first time that she ever touched her cake. She took like 2 or 3 bites and I was in shock. I actually took a picture. It was like she's eating the cake. Now I understand that that was the beginning of the end. So your kids are 7 and 8. What I would do is I would take the actual junk food and I would make it, though really, really, really once in a while, like have them understand, guys, this is unhealthy. If I have any weight issues that I to talk about, which I did, I would have helped my daughter to see very clearly, and she does today see clearly, the junk that I was eating made me overweight. My daughter is fit, right? And that's part of the issue that we're having right now. She's so fit that she's not concerned too much about what she's eating, although she understands it. But she still likes to have, she had pizza yesterday, for example. She still likes to have those things because she's not really ready to really shift into eating healthy. And she said it to me. She's not ready. She says she knows she has to do it. She's not ready. And I get it. She's still being held, right? It's unfortunate that most of us need a real health emergency to happen before we're able to say, okay, I'm taking this under, I'm going to do it now. I'm really going to do it. I hate that. But that's the world we're in today because they've got medication for everything, Wellness Warrior. They have medication for your physical ailments. They have medication for your mental health ailments. They are winning off of us being so controlled by the sugar we eat that we're willing to wait until there's an emergency before we change what we're eating. You have control of what your kids have in the house. They're 7 and 8. So those sugary things, oh my gosh, I'd push them off like maybe once a month they can have it. And fruits, I would try to make sure that it's no more than once a day and let that become the sweet treat they're having. And trust me, they're going to start to see the fruit as the sweet thing because they're not having all the other junky things. But the other thing that it would be important for you to do is pay attention to your side dishes. This is the one a lot of people who have kids who are, and they're keto and carnivore, and they have kids, this is the one where they struggle, is that they don't see how these side dishes that we're giving them that are straight starch still keeps them chasing the ice cream and the cookies and the and all the real junk food. But if you are able to help your kids to see, okay, vegetables, which are lower, like less, we can have less carby options than, for example, the pasta that our kids love to have. Rice is quite high in too. And it's a starch. It like breaks down really quickly. But every piece of vegetation has its different problems. So I can't even pick one. Like I would say broccoli is what I did my keto lifestyle on. So broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, asparagus once in a while. Uh, that's what I mostly had in terms of vegetables. My fruits were, because I did have olives and avocado, but very low glycemic. Now, like I look at that stuff, the toxin in broccoli, which Dr. E told me, which I can't remember the name of it, but it's horrible, and the toxin in avocado, which is in most plants though, which is oxalates. So like everything is going to have a trade of good versus bad. The most important thing for you is realizing that the vegetables are still better than these really quick breaking down starches, which Dr. Eckberg helped me to understand, like can actually be more chasey than the vegetables. So, like in my mind, I'd rather still go for vegetables than pasta and rice and potatoes and carrots, which are the starches that break down just so dang fast that our kids are going to be more triggered by them and they're going to want the cookies and the ice cream and the whatever. Once your kids, like say if you start today 7 and 8, by the time they're like 10 and 12, they'll probably have a much better understanding if you lean into helping them see how much better they regulate. I'm going to guess that when they really put the junk food down, you're going to see a difference in how calm they are, in terms of like their problem solving ability, in terms of their ability to like regulate their emotions. If either of them have ADHD, Dr. E talks about people that really get good regulation by putting down the high carb things. Just mental health wise, we do better when we put down the high carb things. So that's another great way for people to, for you to help them to see it, right? And for all of us to see it. Look at how your mood is eating the junk versus allowing yourself to put it down. So, and our kids are smart when they're getting in trouble less at school because they can see that they were listening better and things are going better. And like, like you can help them see like, hey, look at how well you're doing and how much better your grades are going and all the things because you changed how you're eating. And kids like to feel good just as much as adults do, right? A lot of us only end up putting down the junk food because our weight is rising or we have a health scare. But don't underestimate how smart our kids are. They want to do what's good for themselves. Good morning, Pat. Nice to have you here. Um, we actually drink a lot of bubbly water. Oh, okay, you're answering, John. Let's see. You take me to the longest. You take me to the longest time to learn that the first hour and a half of the day is the most important part of the day. Okay, so the first hour and a half of the day is the most important part of the day. You know what? I mean, I definitely feel like the problem that we have, just going to this most important part of the day, we've been told forever. Breakfast is the most important meal. Breakfast is important, and then they trained us. Breakfast has to happen like when you wake up. How many of us can remember waking up and our kids getting up, and the first thing they want to do is play? Our kids don't beeline to the kitchen initially. They wake up and they go get toys. And the funny thing is, when you start eating keto, what you realize is that you wake up and you're not hungry immediately. Like I used to wake up in the morning because I was hungry, right? That would wake me up out of my sleep. And now I wake up and I get up and I do stuff. And like it is, what time is it right now? It is 12:05 and I haven't eaten yet. And I probably won't eat till much later this afternoon if I end up having lunch today. And if I don't have lunch, I'll end up eating at supper time. And this is water, by the way. There's no butter, no coffee. This is water. Like you can see that. So, like, I think one of the most important thing, just talking about that water, that we don't realize is that usually the first signal that we get isn't actually for food. One of the things that not doctors, food companies have taken advantage of is that our body only has one signal to tell us that it needs food or water. And our body is only ever asking for food or water. It does not ask for soda. It does not ask for juice. Our body asks for food or water, right? That rumbling in our stomach. So when your body gives you that kind of feeling in your stomach that you're hungry, we've decided that it's hungry. It could be asking you for water, but nobody checks that. We just feel the rumble and go make food. I've learned to feel the rumble and drink some water because that's the first thing my body's going to ask me for. And a lot of the time I'll drink the water and then I'm fine for hours, which meant that my body wanted water. And then if I get another rumble and I drink some more water and I'm fine again for like I have to pass 20 minutes for me to feel like, yeah, it was just wanting water. Like, because the truth of the matter is, if it's wanting more than water, within 20 minutes, I'm going to be grumbling again. My stomach is just going to be like, no, that's not what I wanted. Just the same way that if you have a baby and they at you and you give it some water because you're thinking, oh, it hasn't had water in a long time. And it's going to drink the water. But if it wanted food, it's going to drink the water and then it's going to cry again, like within minutes, right? So we have the same signals and the same pathway. Like it doesn't change because we got bigger. What changed is our ability to walk over and choose to eat food because that's what we were taught to do. Right? Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It has to happen between 7 and 9 and all these stupid rules. Why do we think it has to happen between 7 and 9? Because most restaurant services, like if you're not seated by 9 and like on the plate, like if you try to get there at 11:30 to have breakfast, they're like, oh, we're not serving breakfast anymore. If you're just ordering breakfast at 11:25 and everyone else is walking out and everyone else is in there ordering lunch, you feel weird. We've created all these scenarios around us to make us feel. Some restaurants start serving lunch at 11 o'clock to help the people that have earlier lunch, even 10:30 at some places, because, oh yeah, I'm on lunch break. Can you bring me, right? So, and now I'm eating breakfast and someone's over there eating lunch and I feel weird. I feel weird. Why should I feel weird? This is my breakfast. And if I have my breakfast at 2 o'clock, if I have my breakfast at 3 o'clock, all breakfast means is I'm just breaking my fast. Because when you drink water, there's no energy coming in. When you eat food or drink something with energy coming in, you're breaking your fast. And yes, when you eat things that have energy in them, you're breaking your fast. The other day, somebody asked me in my comments, they said, I wish we had a better word for calories. Some way for people to understand, like, that energy. And we do have a word. It's called energy. That's the word. Energy coming into the body is something that we all understand. And we had that word always, right? Because it takes energy to do stuff. I want us all to really stop and just understand that we don't need influencers or companies to give us more words to confuse us. We need to lean into the words we already understand and then use them appropriate. How much energy is coming in and what kind of energy is coming in? If I'm choosing the healthy energy, fat-based energy, then my body's going to do well. If I'm choosing the unhealthy energy, carbohydrate energy, okay, why is that unhealthy energy? Because I don't need to eat it. My body makes all the carbohydrates. So endogenous carbohydrate energy, absolutely healthy. My body makes the exact right amount all the time on repeat. It knows how, the right energy. Exogenous, coming from the outside, carbohydrate energy, no, I'm eating for fun. That is not the right energy. Now, I can't tell you what to do. If you want to eat for fun, you're going to eat for fun. All I'm saying is you're eating for fun. If we label things appropriately, then we will be able to see the reality of what we're doing. So that first meal, those first few hours of your day, yes, I encourage you that first hunger signal. So that first stomach rumble, what if we start calling it what it really is? That first stomach rumble, verify if that's for water or if it's for food. If it's for water, you'll probably be fine for a few hours. If it's for food, probably in a few minutes, you'll be hungry and be like, okay, I need to make myself some breakfast. Not every person has the luxury that I have, that you can have a meal whenever you feel like it, right? Some people do live from home, work from home, work from home, and they can have a meal whenever they want. But some people, like they're on such a tight schedule that they need to bring that meal with them or eat it before they go to work, depending on your actual scenario. And so there's a lot of fear that you're not going to be able to manage a day. My suggestion to you, on the weekend, see what happens. Rather than getting up and having breakfast, which is your habit, wake up and wait for the first signal from your body that you need something, and then give yourself water and see how long it is before the actual hunger signal happens. So was that water signal a hunger signal or a water signal? Right? Was it a food signal or a water signal? That first grumble of your stomach. If it was water, terrific. Maybe you go another hour or two. You get another grumble, drink some more water. Okay, was that and I'm not saying load up on water. I'm not saying you drink a gallon of water. You saw what I just did there. I took a sip of water, right? Drink water until you feel like, okay, I don't feel hungry anymore. But not like, this 1 cup of water would probably last me 2 or 3 attempts at that. I would drink and drink. Okay, oh, I feel better. Like maybe I drank a third of the cup. And then I go on with my day. That's another lie that they've given us. Oh, we need 2 gallons of water per day or a gallon of water or however much the stupidity, 8 cups of water, whatever it is, the dumb number. No. You don't necessarily need all of that in actual water because the food you eat, even animal protein, has water in it. Because why? We are made of water. Right? So that's why when you dehydrate protein, so if you ever like a beef stick, if you weighed it before it got dehydrated down into like a beef stick, the weight of that would have been much more. Why? Because you're pulling the water out. That's all you're doing in that process. Which, if you think about the poor kibble that you feed your pets, how dehydrated, it's not even just dehydrated, they kiln that stuff at like 300 plus degrees. Like they're ruining the food, by the way, for our pets, but that's a whole other conversation. By the time you get to the point where you're actually eating your meal, what time is it on the weekend? And then you're going to have a more realistic idea of like, okay, at work, like, do I have to fret so much? I got that word from Elizabeth this week in our meeting. She said that, and I was like, fret, okay. Worry, fret, the same thing. I feel like she said fretting is a little bit less than worrying. But anyways, do I have to worry so much about when I don't feel hungry for breakfast before I leave the house? Could I actually make it to lunch? And I feel like a lot of you would probably realize if you actually took the time on the weekend to only eat when you were actually hungry, you'd realize that you would make it to lunch easily. But you're not going to know that if you don't pause and let yourself try. And you're not going to let yourself try until you understand that the lies we've been told by these companies were lies. That's all it was. They were just trying to get us to eat their product. They want us to eat Cheerios. They want us to eat Frosted Flakes. They want us to eat, all these stupidity cereals that we're eating, Rice Krispies even. Oh, there's no sugar added. You don't need to add sugar. Rice is sugar. All these stuff where they say there's no sugar added. Plants are sugar. They don't have to add sugar. The thing we're eating is sugar, and then they dry it out so that we denature the protein that's in there. That's another thing that's so frustrating is, like when they dry it and powder it and do all the things to it the way that they're doing, are we even getting the level of protein from the plant that we think we're getting? According to Dr. Lehman, even when we're eating straight up vegetables, it's only like 40% bioavailable, and that's the straight up vegetable. When we denature it by doing all the processed stupidity that companies do to it, do you think now that you're getting the high quality blah blah blah? No, you're not getting high quality like it's just we've ruined it. We've straight up ruined it. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry for the rant. You're so right. Do you ever crave sweets, and what do you do? I don't crave sweets anymore. Why do so John, what I'm going to point out to you, and it blew my mind when I even realized this. Like when I went keto and I was trying to heal my hip. My hip was screaming with pain. When I went keto and I put all the junk food down and my health was improving, like I said, I was so seeing the progress. Within 3 months, I went from worrying about when would the hip surgery happen to running around, back to tree climbing, back to longboarding, back to riding my scooters, push scooters, back to longboarding. Did I say that already? Riding my bike, rollerblading. Like I was back to doing everything. And actually, I realized the other day because I checked, like I was back to taking the kids to the front of the waterfront, and we would throw rocks. I don't know if you ever thrown rocks, like trying to skip them. You have to kind of lean on your side. I wouldn't have been able to do that. Like there's no way I would have been able to do that. And I was able to do it. So, and what I also figured out, because when I saw that picture of me skipping rocks, which was in June, I realized that actually I was back to feeling better and running around 2 months later, not 3. It was 2 months, because that was in June. And I started in April. I started April 20th, and it was like the beginning of June when I have the picture of myself out with the kids, like at the water. Now, I wasn't at goal weight, Wellness Warrior. It's only 2 months into my keto lifestyle. And I hadn't craved anything. And there are 2 points that happened where I realized that my cravings were changing. 2 weeks into doing keto, my daughter had gotten a big chocolate bar, normal size chocolate bar from a family member. And it was sitting on the counter in my house. Now, what I did to help myself when I was doing keto is I stopped buying junk for her, and she was eating all of her junk at grandma's. But that chocolate bar came into the house. It was in her bag. She put it on the counter. Again, my daughter was so not interested in that kind of stuff at that point in time. Back then, she would have been like 13. She was like, yeah, 13 maybe. So, but she didn't care about that stuff. She didn't care. So she would eat it. But this is one of those things that would last her like probably 3 weeks to finish a chocolate bar. So I moved the chocolate bar. And then I was cleaning up the kitchen. And then when I finished cleaning the kitchen, and I was looking around to make sure I got everything, I saw the chocolate bar again and realized I hadn't thought to eat any. That was the first time that I'd ever touched a chocolate bar and not thought to grab a piece. That was the first indication to me that something was different. And I was 2 weeks into keto. Like I was thinking differently. My mind was working differently. That whole idea of like brain fog and brain clearing, and it started to really, like that was the first kind of like, wow, like I'm thinking different. The next thing that happened, which was the real like, I'm different now, was July on our family vacation. So myself and Kyler and the boys and Pat, we were in Niagara, so Toronto, Niagara area on vacation, and Pat was making breakfast. I was still eating minimum 2 meals at a time back then, but we were on vacation, so I did have breakfast that day. And he put some eggs and bacon in front of me, and everybody else was having normal breakfast, like eggs and bacon, toast, blah, 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 all the things. He put eggs and bacon, and he had cut up some strawberries. And since berries are keto, he put some strawberries on my plate. Wellness Warrior. I took a bite of strawberry, the first actual fruit I had eaten, because I don't like fruit, so let me just be very clear about that. I don't like fruit. If I was going to eat a fruit, kiwi, strawberries, bananas, mango, pineapple. Yeah. Oh, peaches. Okay, do you see a thread here? If I was going to eat a fruit, it's the sweetest possible fruit with the least amount of like fiber to it. Those are the ones that I was going for. Okay, and I know that mango is very fibrous, but it's very sweet. Caribbean. So anyways, he put some strawberry on my plate and I took a bite. Oh my God. The thing was so sweet that, like, you ever had put something in your mouth that's so sweet, that overwhelmingly sweet, that the salivation just can't stop and you just feel like your jaw tightening? That's what happened to me. And everyone else at the table is saying, oh my gosh, these are the most watery strawberry, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like in shock. What are you talking about? So then he's laughing. He's like, oh, maybe you got the only sweet strawberry. At the time, Pat was not keto yet. And he took a bite of my strawberry and he's like, no, it's just as watery as the rest. And then the kids didn't believe him and they all took a bite and they were like, yeah, it's just as watery. And for me, that was like straight up sugar, tablespoons of sugar in my mouth. And that was my second indication that something's changing. I'll give you a third because I thought this was interesting too. Fast forward a few years, I'm keto. I've really limited my carb intake at this point. And when I say limited, it is because I've stopped eating like most vegetation and I'm down to eating avocado, olives, and the occasional salad, Caesar salad, usually. Unless I went to one of my favorite Greek restaurants, in which case I would have the Greek salad. But like, that's it. That's like, in a week, I would have 2 to 3 days of vegetation, and all the other days I was only eating meat, with the exception of one more thing that I was letting myself eat: cashews. So that was all of the vegetation in my diet. And the reason that I stopped eating cashews was because I started to chase them. And one day I was like realizing it and I was like, wow, like I've had cashews every day this week. And as I was eating the cashews, something clicked in my head. They tasted sweet. I was eating them like, oh my God, I'm chasing the sweet taste in the cashews. And all of a sudden, it made me understand that I wasn't just eating cashews because they're healthy and I like them. I was chasing them because I was having them every single day. So not only does our taste buds, or do our taste buds change, Wellness Warrior, they become more sensitive. And of course, when we find that sweet thing, it still has the ability to trigger me. So this was years later. I was on keto for how long? But what was I now overeating? I was overeating cashews. So sometimes I was finding myself like struggling to have that one serving. I was wanting to put 2 servings, right? Sometimes I'm purposely not checking how much because normally I weigh that kind of stuff. And then like, oh, I'll just put it and like, I gave myself permission not to weigh it. And then as I'm eating, I realized, oh, this is more than I normally was having. All that to say, why was all of that happening? I was tasting that sweetness and it was causing me to chase. But Violet, is less carb than what? As you move forward and you do better, your body expects you to do better. Your body is not being overprotective. Your body is not being, sensitive. Your body is showing you the problems in the foods that we eat. And if we don't pay attention, we can get pulled back in, right? If I hadn't paid attention to that, cashews might have turned into other nuts that even tasted more sweet, which could have led me to like letting other things back in it, right? If I eat something and I get a sweet taste, that's cephalic response to sugar. So the brain response that's telling your body, oh, sugar's coming in, be careful. And all those processes start happening. Even if this amount of sugar that came in was minute, or even if no sugar came in because it was artificially sweetened. This is part of the crazy thing about those keto fat snacks, like those fat bombs, things that people make that have artificial sweeteners in them. You are taking in a bolus of fat, which theoretically should be okay for you, but because you're making it sweet flavored, your brain is going to store it as fat. And then you don't understand why you're gaining weight. I'm not eating any fat, any sugar. You don't need to eat sugar. Your brain just needs to think sugar is coming in. And again, this is one of those things where if we don't understand how our body works and don't understand that our brain tells our body what hormones to deploy, right? So the insulin that your body is going to deploy because your brain said, hey, there's sugar coming in, then that insulin causes that cascade of other things to happen because that's what's supposed to happen. That's how our body keeps us healthy and safe. And if we don't understand that, we get into trouble. By the way, if you guys were looking for a way to support the channel, I don't know if you noticed, but I have these new t-shirts. I find them, well, I thought the joke was really funny. I kind of said this to somebody and was like, oh, let me make that into a t-shirt. This is a cool way to support the channel. And another way that you can support the channel is down in the description. I have a link where you can support the channel monthly or one-time support. You just go to the link on the page that says support the channel. And there's different ways to support us so that I can make more videos. Really, my goal is to be able to dedicate more time to making videos so I can do more deep dives because I need to do research to get this information for you guys and provide you with better information. So if that's something that you'd like to see me do, you can, buy a t-shirt or go straight and, support that way. I mean, obviously channel memberships is another way that you can support. I'm trying to put out more channel member only stuff so that I can give you either little ideas about what to do to help yourself. And if you guys have ideas of what you would like me to, what kind of videos would help you for memberships, I would be interested in that as well. I don't want to change my free stuff. I want my free stuff to be the amazing good information for everybody. I don't mind though giving some extra stuff to the community that wants to support me. So if you have ideas of what you want to know about, would love to know, because I definitely want, now that we finally have the right information with the Make America Healthy Again, like we're starting to get that good information out, I want to make some videos that really help people with a very down to earth, this is what you can do to get your mind out of the trap that food companies have us in. I have a video coming up that I'm going to be making very soon because, oh my goodness, I saw a video this morning where they have people just pushing hard against keto and carnivore people, like the influencers that are talking and trying to get people to say, look, they're finally being honest with you. Can we start doing this? And they have people coming in and credible people, which I find interesting. People that at one point were supporting protein and supporting like that, this is important for us to have, all of a sudden kind of coming back and saying, no, you still, and I think companies have gotten to them. That's my opinion. And it's just an opinion, but I think companies have gotten to them. And now they're backtracking because financially, there's a reason for them to backtrack. But I digress. If you want to support the channel, the links are below. Started at 367, now at 190. Excellent. I don't know what your goal is, but excellent. 12 years keto, 9 months carnivore. You reverse diabetes, fatty liver, heart disease after 5 bypass. Ooh, I'm sorry you had to go through that. No glasses needed anymore. Oh, I heard that that's a possibility. I do wear glasses. I'm not wearing them right now because I'm kind of close to what I'm looking at. I need them for far.
But I do wear glasses, and there's a part of my mind that just would love for my eyes to just kind of adjust. However, I don't think that's going to be the case because my glasses story started when I was in grade six. And I mean, started like they noticed it when I was in grade six. I got for the first time ever placed in the back of the classroom because the teacher was doing things by name and like R's near the back. And and that's when I realized that I realized I couldn't see the board. And my doctor, my optometrist said that it probably was like that the entire time, but because I usually chose to sit near the front, I was able to see. So I thought that was really interesting as well. But I would love to know, like, I mean, they could be wrong, right? It could have been something that came on and I just didn't know about it because not everything they tell us is true. So, and I do acknowledge that. So I wonder if that will ever change. Mental clarity improving every day. So John, I mean, I don't know if 190 is your goal and like that's like muscle and everything because you don't say how tall you are, but it could be that 190 is your perfect number, in which case congratulations. But even just getting from 367 to 190 is congratulations. 12 years keto nine. So I love the fact that you are one of those people that have been doing this for so long, right? Like I will be 8 years keto. Sorry, 8 years total in April. That would be 7 years, no, 6 years keto, 2 years carnivore. Is that right? Yeah, yeah. It will be 6 years keto, 2 years carnivore, and I'm excited to make my 20 years. Like that is my goal, and what really makes me excited now is that when I make my 20 years, I will be more carnivore than keto. And so I'm doing a lot more research right now on like meat and protein and all that stuff, trying to understand even better, like eating only meat, fish, poultry, eggs, salt, trying to make sure my iodine is at the right levels. Like, how is that going to help my life? Perfect. Let's see. Okay. Nutrients are important, but getting the sun, not drinking coffee first thing in the morning, sunlight, walking, and getting good sleep at night is equally important. So I definitely agree with everything there. Like, but nutrients are number one. I think like if your body doesn't get in what it needs to build you, you can do all those other things, but if your body doesn't have what it needs to build you, if you're eating, processed foods and only junk all the time, the other things don't help. The other thing is coffee is such a thief. And I feel like Dr. Chafee, when I interviewed him, said something, and I don't know that I didn't. He said it. He said like you should really put down coffee there, and he gave me reasons, and it's just like I wasn't ready. Now that I've put down coffee, and I will have a video about that coming up eventually, but I want to live without coffee for a little while and see what improves and how things improve and what gets better. But I will say that one thing that's really weird and like happening now, that the only thing that's really changed is the coffee, which is like crazy to me. That could that be something? But I'll give you this one little glimpse since you guys are here with me on live. When I stopped drinking coffee, um, about a few weeks later, I was all of a sudden interested in working out, which is weird. Like I was looking at my gym setup and whatever, but I didn't start right away. But I was looking at it. I was like, oh, I should probably clear that up and whatever. I didn't touch it. There's a bunch of stuff all over my gym equipment because I wasn't using it. I wasn't interested in using it. I hate working out. I would much prefer to do stuff outside and whatever. The weather here over the winter has not been great. Have not gone skiing. Really wanted to go skiing this season. Haven't been able to go yet. The weather's just been on and off in icy conditions, and it just didn't make any sense. Didn't want to get hurt. Trying to go snowboarding. Actually, is what I was planning to do. So what I noticed though is that my daughter's birthday came around, and she cleaned up downstairs and like moved everything off the gym equipment so that she cleaned up the house and everything was looking really nice. And as soon as the gym equipment was free, what happened? I started working out. Wellness Warrior, I have had that gym set up and it cleared it off multiple times over the course of being keto. and carnivore. It's been cleared off since I was carnivore. I've never wanted to touch it. And even at times where I wasn't getting out and doing any kind of workouts, I'd still never wanted to touch it. I actually just looked at it always, and for some reason now, consistently, every other day I've been working out. Not big workouts, so like let's don't get crazy, but somehow I don't eat, and I the only thing that I have changed is I removed coffee from my diet. It's crazy. I didn't change anything else. And I've been eating carnivore for 2 years. So it's not just because I'm carnivore. And when I went carnivore, I took all the vegetation, even the spices out. So all that happened immediately. The only thing that I changed within the last few, like a month and a bit now, is removing caffeine, coffee. So coffee, I'll say coffee. All of a sudden I'm working out. So there's something, and honestly, I feel like I look at it when I'm walking by, like I have a feeling to go. This has never been my story. And I'll tell you, I had gym memberships when I was doing standard diet. I had gym memberships to multiple different gyms, some really nice gyms. I was paying hundreds of dollars to those gyms and not going. Put this gym in my basement. It was accessible to me this entire time. I put it in around the time that I started keto. I put it in. That's 8 years ago. I already had the elliptical though. So I had the elliptical machine. I've had that since I moved into this house. Now you're going back like 12, 13 years ago. I wasn't touching either of them. I'm still not using the elliptical, by the way. I haven't added that to my routine yet, but I'm using the actual weights that I own. It's craziness. I don't fully understand it, but somehow, all of a sudden, without coffee in my leg, and I think this is my little guess, but I'm not 100% sure. My little guess is, it's a way of getting energy. So I do know that the more you work out, the more energy you use, the more energy you have. It's one of those things where you have to make energy to have energy and have energy to make it, right? Like, so the more you do it, the better you do it, the more you do it, the better, like that. And I feel like when I put coffee down, and you're not getting that artificial sensation of energy, waking up in the morning, and I always do it first thing in the morning. That's another thing. Waking up in the morning and working out for even just 20 minutes. I'm not doing, like I said, they're small workouts, but I'm looking forward to them. This morning, I sent my brother a message because he's a big workout guy, asking him a question about like a lower back workout. 'Cause I want to try to strengthen my lower, like, again. Now, will it last? We're gonna see. But I'll tell you, even when I bought the equipment and I was working out that first time, it was oh, okay, I should work out today. That's not how I feel about it this time. It is weird. It is weird. So that coffee thing, that I think is huge. Sunlight, that's something I need to work on. In the summer, I can do it. I mean, here, of course, with winter and the glass that we have in our homes, they kind of shield that natural light from getting to us. The UV is not getting in as much. So getting outside in the morning is something I should really be doing, but I don't do it. And of course, working on my sleep, that's something else that I'm working on, actively working on right now. I really do feel like I was saying before, if I was able to dedicate more daytime hours to making these videos, then I could get to bed better. Because like what happens now is I have to work and then I make videos and then I go to bed, and like that's my routine: work videos, work videos. So like, and finding time to do it is important to me as much as work is important to me. So I'm trying my best to make sure that I do the things that help everyone. Right? And so I see I have a few starred things that I want to keep going for. I theoretically should get to the starred things. I'm not even sure how many comments I have, but I see there's a nice little bit here, so I'm going to keep going forward. I started down the bad road when I listened to videos saying I had to cycle off keto. Oh, but I'm back for now. I'm back now for good. I'm keto for life now. I feel so much better, and I'm only 3 days back. Okay, so you were keto for 12 years, 9 months carnivore, cycled off, and now you're keto again. And I feel like what I love about that, John, is that you're doing it the right way. Or am I actually getting two people wrong? Sorry. No, it's this John that said they were 12. John together said they were 12. Wait, which one is 12 years? Da, 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 da. Too many Johns. Yeah, John together is 12 years. So you were keto and now, okay. So you're doing it the right way. Like we start over, right? We realize that we listened to the wrong person and we start over. And I know there's a lot of people that don't like Professor K, but I listen to him because even though I don't like all the expletives that he uses when he is talking, I do find his information amazing. And so one of the things that he said recently was that he was going to unfollow any person who suggested that we need to eat carbohydrates. And I honestly, wholeheartedly endorse that. I think that if you have someone who's claiming to understand keto and carnivore, but then turn around and saying that we need to eat carbohydrates, they're right away explaining that they don't understand how the body works. We never need to eat a carbohydrate. Our body makes all the carbohydrates that we need. Our body also makes cholesterol. So all those people that are making us afraid and saying we should eat less cholesterol, if you eat less cholesterol, your body makes it up by making more. We need cholesterol. Every hormone in our body is made from cholesterol. Every signaling, so neurotransmitter, cholesterol. So we need it. So he said that he would unfollow. And also the other thing he said is that anybody who talks about calories, he's going to unfollow them. And I agree with that one too. Calories is not a real thing. Yes, we eat energy, but can we just understand that we don't burn this stuff, right? Our body chemically breaks it down. And in that chemical breakdown, it will get the carbohydrates out of it. And so we can't then turn around and exercise away the carbohydrates we ate from that because our body has already processed those carbohydrates and put them in fat storage if need be. And this is just reality, Wellness Warrior. We need to understand that. So I agreed with him. There was a lot of other things he was like, I'm unfollowing. I think there was 9 of them or 10, I can't remember, or 11 of them. I can't remember exactly. But there was a few of them that I absolutely agreed with. It's like, yep, would unfollow too. It's a video you should probably watch if you want to see, like, but he was very honest about why, right? Like they're just the fallacy of some of the things that we have been studying our biology for so long. We know certain things, some things, so we know. That's an interesting word. We see patterns of certain things. Patterns that have been there long enough and replicate no matter what we do that tell us this is reality for 99.999% of people. There might be that 0.001 outlier, but for most of the planet, this is what it is. And so therefore, if that's what it is, that's what it is. But secondarily, because we make up a word does not mean that our body is interacting with that word the way that we've defined it. We've made up a word to be able to say that there's a certain number of calories in this thing because if you burned it in a blah, 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 it would put off this much energy. Terrific. That does not mean that my body is burning it. My body chemically does a bunch of reactions to extract the protein, carbohydrates, and fats from whatever I eat. If I swallow a rock, my body is not likely to get out the protein, carbohydrates, and fats from a rock that it can get out of a piece of meat or a cookie or whatever, right? We need to understand that. It's not because if I were to hyper heat a rock to a certain degree that I could actually break it down that says that now the rock calories was this number. In Violet's body, it was that number. No, the rock is probably going to pass out unscathed, maybe a little bit by the acid in my stomach, but pretty much is going to pass out as a rock. And we need to understand that. Same thing as if I swallowed a penny, right? Like certain things, just even though again I could heat it and get a calorie number on it, but that's a game, right? It's a distraction to keep us doing the wrong thing. Let's see. Stephanie, how are you doing? Nice to see you here. I know you're going to catch it on the replay. Thanks for popping in and saying hello. Um, Stay strong, y'all. I have the increased energy. Keto has also I love the increased energy has. Keto has also mental focus. Okay. That was an interesting sentence. Also, I don't sleep 8 hours a day. I really do like 4 to 6, and I'm up. Thanks, Violet and hubby. Love the information. Very happy to present this information to you. They say that as we get older, we need a little bit less sleep. I don't know if it's that we need a little bit less sleep or if it's that our circadian, like our rhythms, we will start waking up at a certain time. And I've noticed this in myself, like somewhere between 8 and 9, I wake up. Just wake up. Especially if I've gone to bed at a reasonable hour. Like I used to be able to sleep till like 12. Can't do it anymore. Can't do it. Like I can't make it past 10:30 most days. Even if I was up late. So like yesterday, no, day before yesterday, my niece turned 16. Happy birthday to her. And I went to her birthday party and it ended at like 1 o'clock. And of course, you get home from a party, you're all like wired. So then I was up for another few hours. And I would honestly say that I probably didn't get to sleep before 3 o'clock. Still woke up at 9, whatever. Like it just happens, right? Now, luckily, because I kind of thought that was too early, I was able to kind of fall back to sleep a little bit, but I was still awake like by 10. I was just like, and I don't even think I was fully asleep. I kind of was like waking and so I was like, okay, I'm just going to get up because it was kind of torturous at that point. But there's something about our body getting more in tuned with what is it with the earth, with the what, but like we just seem to like the sun comes up and I'm awake. And I think the only way that I'd be able to not have that happen is if there was zero indication of light in my room, and then I'm not sure how comfortable that would be for me. But don't believe I haven't thought about it. When are these live streams? Are these every Monday? Yes, they are. Every Monday at 11:20, I go live. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next Monday, John, and every Monday after that. Uh, Good to be back. Let's go, keto people. I'm 325 going down to 199 and below. I look forward to getting on here and sharing updates. I would love to hear your updates. Keto works. I know I was just tricked and silly for hopping off. You know what? We all end up having our moments where something gets us. For me, it was nuts and believing people saying that, oh, like these keto snacks and things. And even though I was smart enough not to eat them as snacks, I was eating them at the end of my meal. The part that was kind of like, and again, another thing that made me realize it, I forgot to say this earlier, whenever I would be upset, nuts would come to my head. And it's like I hadn't done that to myself in years because I used to, you get upset, you think about eating chocolate or cookies or whatever. Whenever I would get upset, so that was another thing, right? It was just like, and between my home and my office, there's a really nice nut place, and I would stop there in back in the day when I wasn't concerned about eating nuts, and I found myself now wanting to stop and get, and I was just like, there's something going on here that doesn't make any damn sense. And that's when I figured out that, yep, I was right. There was a problem with what I was doing. So we all get tricked. We all hear information and we think that it makes sense. I'm a big fan, though, whatever you end up doing, because I'm not going to say you're never going to try something. That wouldn't make any sense. Like, especially if you hear something from a doctor, which is why one of the reasons I'm so mad at these keto and carnivore doctors that are allowing themselves to be swayed by these companies coming in and whatever they're giving them and letting that sway them. But if you allow yourself to listen to the doctors, then one of the things that you're going to be able to do is see that Like, I listen to my body. And if my body is telling me this is okay and I am not feeling any repercussions, maybe that's fine. But if you feel a repercussion, so if you find yourself chasing, which is what happened to me, it's like, this is not normal that I want to have nuts after every single meal. When, like, a few weeks ago, I was having it once in a blue moon. Or when I get angry that or sad or frustrated or whatever feeling that I'm thinking about eating some nut, that's not typical of me, right? And so it helped me to see it. So listen to whatever your body is telling you, because your body is trying to help you out. Happens to all of us. Yep. And Pat's right. We can do it. With me, it's never a willpower issue. It was a hormone. For none of us, John, for none of us, thank you for saying that. For none of us, it was ever a willpower issue. If I don't know that vodka isn't water. So let's say I grew up in the city where instead of giving kids water, they were giving them vodka, right? From the time they were little. And I'm just like all about drinking vodka. Do you think that I would ever question my chasing behavior? Right? Because I'm probably not going to just stick to vodka, right? Maybe I'm going to have beer, and maybe I'm going to have wine, and maybe, right? And excessively. Like, when I look at British television and see how much they show people drinking over there, you have to understand this, because that's what they've been shown is fine to do, right? Like, almost every show happens in a pub, but it's normalized. That's what they think is just, yeah, everybody does that, right? That's just normal. And even the ones who are not shown as having a problem with drinking still have multiple drinks per day. We need to understand how insidious this stuff is. Because if we don't understand, then we think it's our problem. Or I just have a willpower. No, none of us do. We all have hormonal issues based on the wrong thing that comes in. Because if you're drinking copious amounts, then guess what's happening? Your body is going to be reacting. And that's going to impact your hormones. You are more than welcome, Mazzolani. Mezzoline? I'm not sure where you're. Yeah, you're more than welcome. I don't know how to say that. Maccabees says, I'm so glad I found you. I'm really happy that you're here. I really appreciate you. I'm more than happy to have these conversations. I don't worry about macros. I eat when I'm hungry. Then eat the meat, eat the fat, and don't worry about the scale. That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. I think, especially I in a conversation with Dr. Kiltz, he pointed out that the fat actually has protein in it. Something I'd never really thought or like paused on, but it's true. Like, even our fat would have protein structure. Like, so even if you only ate fat, you're getting some animal protein, where, like, it just tells you how absolutely healthy eating animal stuff is. And even with butter, right? Like, there's protein in butter. That's why, like, in order to make ghee, you have to process out the protein, right? To make it into ghee. There's things that we don't think about because, like, why would we? We have all this information from these reputable sources that are telling us the opposite, and we just don't ever challenge it. But, like, anybody who's ever made ghee, and you read the instructions and you understand what you're trying to do, you're trying to get the protein out, right? That's what makes it ghee. So again, I'm so excited the more that I learn about this stuff, the more confident I am in the decision that I took. I found one time I was losing weight great and then hit a wall, but I was still obese. Do you suggest time restricted eating to jumpstart weight loss again? Nonetheless, I'm not quitting this time. So what I would rather you do, John, is pay really good attention to your hunger signals. As I said earlier, we often eat when our body's asking us for water. So I would start there. But the other thing I would do is, if I only eat when I'm hungry, that means all the rest of the time my body would be able to pull energy out of fat storage. If I get onto a stall, what I really need to understand and accept is that my body is very likely repairing internal damage. I think this is another thing that most doctors don't talk enough about, but Dr. Eckberg talks about it. Eckberg talks about it. He pointed out to me, well, in a video, he pointed out that our body is always going to want to repair us. And the more time that we give in between meals, the more autophagy and ectoposis that can happen. And that's part of the reason that he feels that if you just follow your eating window, eventually your body like compresses. It just happens. Like it happened to me. I started doing keto after watching a video from Dr. Westman. He said eat 3 meals a day. I was only eating 2 meals a day when I was doing standard diet. But because he said eat 3 meals a day, I went back to eating 3 meals a day. I made breakfast, I had lunch, I had supper. And I ate only healthy things. So meat, fish, poultry, eggs, and keto-friendly vegetables. And Dr. Eckberg and Dr. Westman too said, follow your hunger. So I followed my hunger. And eventually, I just didn't feel hungry enough in the morning to even eat that breakfast. Like I tried to eat it one day and it was just like, I am not enjoying this at all. I'm forcing this meal. I'm not having it. And then what happened? I was having lunch and supper, which is what I was doing before. And I pretty much knew I could do that. But then what happened is my lunch just kept getting pushed back and I just wasn't hungry. It's like, I'm not hungry. I'm in the flexible scenario, like I said, where I can eat when I want to eat. So by the time that I was having lunch around 5 and then getting home and having supper at 7, it didn't make any sense anymore. Like I was able to wait for my supper and I was in 1 meal a day. The point I'm making is forcing time restricted eating, in my opinion, what I've seen from the people that I've spoken to, is it causes you to feel hungry because you are actually hungry, but you're not eating. I don't suggest that because if I feel uncomfortable, I'm not going to want to keep doing what I'm doing, number one. But number two, and the most important number two here is this. If I feel like I'm not hungry, and so I just wait until I get hungry to eat, then that's my body saying, hey, you don't need food. If I feel hungry and I don't eat, I'm sending my body a signal that it can't do the important cleanup it needs to do because we're in a problem. So if I'm hungry and my body is stalled, and this is if I haven't overeaten carbohydrate, and I'm going to come back to that in a second. How would you know that you overate carbohydrate? That's an important thing for us to understand. Let me write this down so I don't forget to come back to it. Carb overeating. Okay, so if I'm not hungry, I should just not eat. If I'm hungry, I'm in a stall, but I'm hungry, and I haven't overeaten carbohydrates, I should eat. Why? Because that's telling me that my body took like all the out of fat storage, a lot of stuff, right? Like it's been doing apoptosis and all that. Like it's been trying to recycle basically. And right now it's trying to build new structure and it doesn't have enough recyclable material, even though I have fat on me. It wants fresh new material. It's asking me to go eat proper food. So then in that story, especially if it's a time that maybe I was not eating before, like let's say I get up and I'm wanting breakfast, then my breakfast is going to be protein, meat, fish, poultry, eggs, something like that. Protein. I'm not having any vegetation if my body asks me for food at a time that I normally would not have eaten, whether I'm keto or not. I'm giving it protein. Why? I'm making sure that this strange call for food is met with what my body actually wants from me. Now, the carb overeating part. If it should happen that you're noticing that not only are you in a stall, maybe your weight kind of starts going back up. The problem that could be happening there is that your body doesn't respond at the carb count you're at. And what I mean by that is you've gotten kicked out of ketosis, possibly. For me, that happened around 18 grams of carbs. So I was doing really fine on keto, and, doing my 20 grams, 20 grams, 20 grams. But then I started to realize, and so the way that I was doing it is that there were certain meals, and certain meals had certain ingredients and whatever, and I was just eating that meal. I knew I made my plate with a certain weight, and that was it. And what I started to realize was that some of the meals that took me like let's say 15 grams, I was fine. 17 grams, I was fine. But as soon as I started to touch 18 grams or above, I was chasey. So it wasn't a weight thing per se, but I was chasey. I was like, oh, I feel like I want to eat something else. But under that number, I didn't have that feeling. Like I would have my meal and I was fine. And it helped me to see that if my day reached 18, like 18 or more, I was in a chasing story, meant I got kicked out of ketosis. For you, it might be trying to figure out, okay, what happens? So again, this is why we track. What are my highest carbohydrate meals? How do I feel after that meal versus the lower carbohydrate meals? And you might start to realize, because that's how I figured it out, because I was making my meals very simple, like each meal was made a specific way. I could see that, wow, in this meal, every time I have this meal, I want to have nuts, because I was still eating nuts, right? Every time I have that meal, I'm like chasing, I want to have nuts. Whereas for other meals, I could finish it and not want the nuts, I was fine. Or not want to have anything else, I was fine. Wellness warrior, pay attention. Your body will tell you. But if you're not paying close enough attention, you're not going to be able to see the gigantic sign that's right in front of you. So I don't encourage people to fast for weight loss, because the other problem that happens there, which is more of a psychological problem, is that we are telling ourselves that we have to force our body to do something. No, we don't. Your body's right. If you need a pause and if you're eating properly and you're not overdoing the carbohydrates and everything is going according to plan and you are still not losing, no. I might change what I'm eating. I might, let's say you're in a stall and you're not sure, am I overdoing my carbs? I might bring my carbs down to 10 and see what happens. See, okay, but again, eat to satiation. If I bring my carbs down to 10, that means I have a little bit less stuff on my plate. I might put a little bit more meat there. So am I saving calories? No, that's not the goal here. I'm putting a bit more meat on my plate, or fish or poultry or whatever, eggs, whatever on my plate. Why? The energy needs to come in. If the reality is my body wants more energy, I don't want to accidentally give it less energy for it to really get mad and be like, what's going on? And then not do the repairs it's trying to do. So carbs down, a little bit more protein on the plate, see what happens. A little bit more fat on the plate, maybe, see what happens. And always stopping when I'm satiated. So what will happen if I put more protein on the plate? I might not get through all the protein, but theoretically then I shouldn't get through all the carb either. If you are always getting through your carb and not getting through your protein, you are making a mistake. Right? You should be eating protein to carbohydrate. Because why? Because it's easy to get carbohydrates in. It triggers our brain. It makes us chase. It's easy to get that part in. Protein to carbohydrate. Make sure that this is finished before that gets finished. And if you can't finish this, then you should not finish this. Right? Then that means the meal is over. So I hope that makes sense to you, John, because I think that's going to be the biggest thing to help you out. And then if you do see that you're overeating carbohydrate, because when you bring it down, everything goes better, terrific. Then you've solved the problem, and that's great. Let's see. John, John is saying to John, anytime you minimize diet intake, insulin levels are reduced. Insulin is the fat control hormone. Anytime you minimize diet intake. So yes and no, John. And I feel like this is one of those interesting things, right? Because if what I'm doing is a time restricted something, but then, and again, I'm making the big assumption here that John, who you're talking to, is going to only eat healthy things. But my concern is if the reason that my body wasn't moving is because there's still too much carb on my plate, then I'll do my time restriction. But then when I eat, I'm still going over what my body can handle. I will still have an insulin spike rather than a necessary insulin rise, right? Because I need to respect that my body might need less than 20. And this is why it frustrates me so much when, especially in the regular world, they say, oh, keto is 50 grams of carbs or less. Dr. Westman specifically pointed out that yes, keto is defined at 50 grams of carbs or less, but most people with metabolic issues need to be 20 or less. He didn't say at 20. He said 20 or less, and he specifically focused us on the less. It's not about riding the 20. It's about finding out at what level does my body stay in a ketogenic state. So that's why I'm like saying yes and no. Sure, when you're not eating, yes, your insulin levels will be lower because you're not eating anything. They might not be at normal levels because if I've already pushed my body to the point where my insulin threshold is higher than it's supposed to be for my body, then it's still going to be up there. So just because I didn't eat any carbohydrates today and it's going to come down, it's coming down to this higher threshold, which is still not the correct threshold. Can I fight my way down from that threshold? From my knowledge at this point in time, no. And Dr. Fung was very, very right in pointing out that when we eat carbohydrates, our body is in an emergency. It has to process those carbohydrates. When we are not eating carbohydrates, our body has the ability to do internal cleanup. And his point was, because we eat every day, multiple times a day, we keep pulling our body's attention away from the work it wants to do, clean us up internally, and focusing on this high energy intensive activity of breaking down food and getting it out of the system away, like basically getting it into a safe place, our fat stores, a safe place so that we don't harm ourselves. Because this is true, because our body just, if food comes in, it must do that work. Then yes, every time we eat, we're creating a pause on our cleanup, right? But the flip side of the coin is, it doesn't matter if I pause myself. So let's say I fast for even 4 days. If when I come back from my fast, the carbohydrates on my plate are high enough to kick me out of ketosis, I'm still going to get kicked out of ketosis. I need to know what that number is. So I hope that that's clear, because I absolutely want everyone to win. I want you to have success. And the best way for you to have success is to understand what's going on with your body so that you can do the things that helps your body to succeed, right? To do well. Thank you, John, for the $10. I think that's a super chat. Don't get these often, but thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. I'm very, very happy to give you the information. I feel like I also see that you joined the membership. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That is very cool. And the next thing you said is you become a new member. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate that. Let's see. All right, I guess that's the app telling me that. But I do appreciate it, John. And I'm looking forward to talking to you more. I'm looking forward to answering any questions that I possibly can for you, because I definitely want you to do well. And that's the goal. That's the reason I'm doing all of this wellness work. I don't know if I said this today, but I have this idea that I want to know for a fact that I've helped 1,000 people. Like that, like something I said or taught contributed to you doing better. And John, I hope that I'm reading this well and I can put your name on the list of people that I've helped, because that would be cool. But you let me know. I only put people on the list who told me, yes, Violet, what you taught me helped me to move forward, because I want this list to be actual. I don't want to guess. If I helped you, I will put your name on the list. I'm actually planning to make a shirt where I'm going to have like that, like just on my shirt, because I think that's so cool to know that I help somebody. And you know what? We don't get a lot of options in life to help people. I mean, I do just for the work that I do in general, but that's why I love it so much. But on this topic, especially, I would love to know that there are people in this world who did not know this information, the same like me. I did not know this information, and now they know it. And they know it because I took the time to share what I learned, and the same way that all these doctors that I'm learning from took the time to share what they're learning. You know, Dr. Berry and Dr. Berg talked about how they were overweight at one point, and learning this information just turned their entire world around. And there's so many other doctors that came to this information because they learned this and it turned their entire world around. And it's not just about weight loss. I mean, we're saving our internal organs. We're saving our internal. That is what helps us to live longer. So, again, very happy to drinking coffee is the first. Drinking coffee in the first hour and a half of being awake set up the day, set up the cortisol flow. Okay, for the rest of the day, a person never gets out of fight or flight mode. Interesting. Well, I mean, I don't know about fight or flight mode because that's a very specific anxiety scenario that a lot of people who drink coffee don't automatically show signs of. So I'm just going to point that out. So I wouldn't want to say that as a across the board reality, but I do see where it probably would increase your cortisol levels, but just not sure that it would go to the level of anxiety, which is what fight or flight mode is. But my more important thing that I will say there is that increasing cortisol, like that's not a goal that we have unless we need it higher. And what I mean by that is the reality for everyone is your cortisol levels are supposed to be at the right level, not excessively high or excessively low. And so, yes, if you're doing something that's leading you to like drinking coffee or any other caffeinated beverage, because it's not just coffee. We have Coca-Cola and Pepsi and all these stupidities. We have energy drinks like whatever. I don't drink energy drinks, but like all the sodas and the energy drinks and the fancy, you know, cappuccinos and all these things that we're drinking that just pushes our cortisol to be higher than it needs to be. But it's also at the same time, because a lot of us put stuff in our coffee, especially if you're drinking those normal Starbucks or Tim Hortons or McDonald's coffees, they're so full of sugar. You're not just getting the caffeine, but you're getting that push of sugar. That's not helping your body either, right? So like the cortisol is coming at you from all kinds of directions, and being more moderate in the morning, I definitely think is a great idea. That's time to go. Let's go wellness team. Yeah, every wellness warrior that's in here, this is day one. If you and whether it's day one because every day is day one. I want to point that out. Every single day, we are on day one of 20 of our body's rebuild. And as soon as we understand that we are still partially living in the body that we started building 20 years ago. So how was I eating 20 years ago? It's not because in the last 8 years I'm eating super amazing that my body is out of the woods, right? This is a 20-year process for turnover. Now some parts have been turned over already, right? Like blood cells and whatever. Like I've been 2 years carnivore, that's all been turned over, but it's still being turned over. And that's the part that I think is so interesting for people to actually understand. When you're renovating a house, it's a renovation. So by the time that you complete the renovation, and let's say it takes 20 years, well, whatever room you did on day one is now outdated. And you're going to be right back to renovating, right? You're doing that first room. And that just will go on forever because every time you pass another 2, 3, 4 years, whatever was 2 or 3, 4 years old, well, maybe whatever has reached 20 years old, would now be need to be updated. And so yes, you could be renovating a different room every 2 to 4 years. With our body, it's the same thing, except that it's happening daily. And so I want us all to just pay attention, focus, and understand that that's a good thing, right? We are actually living the scenario where our body gets to be as healthy as it possibly can be moving forward, because now we know what's good to eat and what we will no longer be eating. So the food that comes in is going to be the best quality food that you can put into your body at this point in time. And then if 10 years from now, let's say that you're carnivore without any spices, and that's a new thing that you're doing, then that's a new reset that we've done. And in 20 years from that, that's what would have built your body. So I'm super looking forward to the day that I'm 18 years from now, because that will mean I've been 20 years carnivore. But I'm still looking forward to the day that I'm 12 years from now, because that will be when I started my keto diet. There's always going to be new milestones, right? And I mean, 12 years from now will also be ish around when, so maybe 11 years from now will be when I put coffee down, for example. These are all milestones that matter. And how much will they matter in the long run when I'm 30, 40 years? No, I probably won't be thinking about it anymore. I'll just be living my happy life in a body that works, happy that it's working, and hopefully still riding my longboard and my skateboard and my snowboard and scooters and tree climbing and bouldering and all the things that I love doing with my family. And I mean, that is ideal. And I would, I say this sometimes, but I want to make it happen that we get together and do some kind of activity together. Bouldering would be like ideal for me, but I know a lot of you haven't bouldered. But maybe even tree to tree climbing could be cool, because there's less of a learning curve for that one. But I would love to get together with you guys and just do some kind of activity. I mean, even go dancing, like just something physical, and just enjoy life and realize that it's not about eating. It's about living your life, having fun, and feeling amazing. Sing it. Hi, nice to have you in here. Really understanding how damaged food media has caused our brains to be. Yep. The anger helps to counteract the cravings while eating food until ketosis takes the fight, so the junk, the junk out, the junk food noise away. It happens. Yeah, I mean, when I started keto, felt amazing and real. Well, no, when I started keto and lived withdrawal, I was pissed. I was pissed to learn that I was not in control of my food. That was step number one of me being like, what the hell? But then when I dug more into it and realized that it was on purpose, that was when I realized I had to talk about it. That was when I was like, nope, whatever I can do, whatever energy is in my body, I'm going to put towards everybody on this planet, knowing that this is a lie. This is not true. Like, and that's where it started. I was hell bent on making sure that everyone understood that we don't need to eat carbohydrates, that the fruit, vegetables, best, the most healthy thing is a lie. Eat the rainbow is a lie. And I do think the anger helped me to share, but it was the body feeling better that helped me to stay on track. And I will make that distinction for myself. I like feeling good. I was desperately looking for a way to solve my hip pain because I was that afraid of surgery, because I don't want surgery. I don't want my pain. I don't like pain. And so, yeah, my goal was all about, I want to feel good. What can I do to help make sure I feel good? And so I know that there's an interesting runaway story that we've all been told. Again, media plays a huge role in this. Although the anger might get you to start, sing it. I would love for you to find a way for the feeling better to allow you to continue. that you let yourself remember what it used to feel like versus what it feels like now. I still remember limping, even though I haven't limped in I don't know how many years. I remember that pain. I remember taking a step and it feeling like someone was turning a screw in my hip. Like, what the heck? Like, I just remember it was excruciating, no matter whether I was sitting, standing, or laying down. Not being able to get into a comfortable position, excruciating. Because I remember that and now feel like this, I like this better. This I'll do all day, every day, over and over. And that's what keeps me moving forward. Not that I don't like that. I didn't like that. I don't want it back. But this feels amazing. Are you sleeping, bud? He's sleeping. Exactly. Cravings should be fed with protein. It all works itself out. Yeah. So if we eat real food, we will want to eat more real food. And by eating more real food, we will do better. And it's just a matter of letting ourselves do that over and over and over again. And putting down the carbohydrates. So I think that's the other part that's kind of tricky, because when people still eat plant matter, so when you're doing a keto way of living, we need to understand that it could happen that even though you didn't change your diet at all, you end up chasing, right? You end up like wanting to touch the stuff. And what I'm going to point out, Wellness Warrior, is that if you let yourself see that, okay, I didn't change anything, but all of a sudden, yeah, I'm looking at cookies again or whatever, and really do let yourself understand that that means that whatever number I was eating up to is not my number. So let's say, and we can only know this if we're tracking. Because if we're not tracking, the other option is that I just accidentally ate over my number. So let's say your number is actually 20 and you make a plate and you didn't weigh what you put on your plate, and you think you have 20 grams of carbs on there, but in fact, you've got like 25. Yes, that's going to impact your ketosis status, and you might be out of ketosis. I mean, you might not be, but you very likely will be. And now your body's, and if you find yourself chasing, that's the first thing I would double check, right? One of the things that was hard for me to accept, but it was the reality, and I saw it play out in person. We think that when we take a container and pour something, we know how much we're pouring. Oh, I just want to dollop, that's all. And you know what? I was putting heavy cream in my coffee for years. I put it on the scale, I pour my heavy cream, and then up to the number, and I take it off the scale. And one day I was like, I wonder if I could do that without the scale. I know how much I do. I do it every time. For the next week, I tried to put my coffee on the scale, I weighed it, took it off the scale, poured my cream, put it back on the scale to see, did I hit it? In that entire week, I didn't hit it once. Not once. Mostly I was over until the end of the week where I was under. But I never hit the number even once. Why? Because we're not going to. When you're pouring it and you see the numbers going up, you are measuring it and you're going to get it right because you're going to get it right. And that's important for us to understand, because not only did I see it from my own eyes that, yeah, I would have been, but the first few days before it was under, every time I poured it, I was putting more. Can you imagine if I thought I was doing right? Right? I was putting more, not less. These little things over the course of the entire day add up. My heavy cream. And then if I'm not weighing what I'm putting on my plate, and especially knowing now that every time I do it, I'm probably going to put a little more. So over the course of the time, how much would end up? And so please weigh your food. I know it sounds annoying. To this day, I weigh my cat's food. I want to make sure he's getting enough because I want him to grow to be as strong as he possibly can be. And when I just try to, and I do every day, I put it in and I say, okay, I think that's the amount. 9 times out of 10, I'm either way over or way under. And I have to take some out or put some back in. Like, this is And I do this every single day. You think I would know just how big a piece to cut off, put it on, boom, I have the right amount? Nope, never works. So, and for myself, I mean, I portion out my meats when I buy them so that they're all roughly between 400 and 450 grams of carbs. Sorry, 450 grams of meat each day, right? I measure it out. Why? Because that way, when I just go to get, I can just go and get. I know I have between 400 and depending, and it's all dependent on what the meat is. Sometimes I'm adding bacon to certain meals. Again, I cook a specific way. If I'm going to add bacon to the meal, I need less meat in there because the bacon is also meat and fat, right? So I'm either doing a 400 gram plus bacon, or I'm doing a a 450 actual, like that's how much meat I'm eating. They're proportioned out the way that they need to be proportioned out. Now that I've added my, because I did do it, I added seafood. I'm going to see how this plays forward. But in my mind, I'm still going to have the same amount of meat and see, like, do I need to eat less because of the protein? Or, sorry, because of the seafood? At this moment, so last week, I didn't need to change anything. I was able to eat it and feel fine. Like by the end of the meal, I was like, okay, yeah, I like one or two bites to go. And I was like, yeah, I had enough. But it wasn't an overwhelming, like I can't finish half my meat. So I think I picked the right amount of seafood to do the job I'm trying to do. Um, okay. For the longest time, I had to portion control until my leptin and ghrelin signals corrected themselves. Fasting shouldn't be an effort. It just happens naturally with me. I eat when I'm hungry. And that is absolutely something that I did notice too. Is like I said to you earlier in my story, like my breakfast got pushed back and then that didn't make sense, and my lunch got pushed back and that didn't make sense, and then that was one meal a day. And then the interesting thing was, as I moved forward in my journey, at some point we went on vacation, and while we were on vacation, so we were in at a resort, so we didn't have, well, we did have we didn't have a stove and whatever, so we couldn't actually make meals, and so therefore we were eating whatever they were making, and everything was lean. So I ended up having two meals a day because I was getting my fat in the morning with the breakfast, because I would just have a bunch of eggs and bacon, and just to get the fat in. And then in the evening, I would have the protein from the meal. But the interesting thing was that, yeah, it was, I ended up eating more than I had ever eaten since like becoming keto and carnivore, just because I was, or not since I became it, but like in years, because I had gone down to one meal a day, and I was just, I needed to make up that fat. In the end, I came back from vacation lighter, and that really did help me to see some interesting things. Is that you can eat more and still lose weight. And a lot of people ask me, oh, but maybe it's because you were sweating that much. Trust me, I'm not the kind of person that goes to a hot place and spends all their time in the heat. I was going out mostly in the evening, so late afternoon, evening, when the temperature was like more reasonable. And if I was out earlier in the day, I was in the pool. Like I was not putting myself in the situation where I was like overheating, and like no, I don't like being hot. And our room had air conditioning. Why would I not use the air conditioning? So you can trust me that no, that wasn't the reason that I came back lighter. Although we got to do some nice activities. There was one day where I couldn't help but be in the sun because we did go to see some archaeologically significant things. And so we went to see that. And yes, I was in the sun for that one day, but that was the only day. All the other things we did involved water, and even that day involved water at some point, but there was a few hours that we were in the sun. So yeah, that, all that to say, following your hunger is actually the best thing you can do. And if you actually follow your hunger, I find that most people get down to two meals a day. Most people. If you're really, really paying attention and only eating when you're hungry and ending your meal when you're satiated. If you're doing carnivore and you're eating till full, till you're nicely full, most people seem to get down to one or 2 meals a day. So you might have a day where you have one and then another day where you have two, and you kind of flip back and forth. And that seems to be the pattern. Um, and again, that makes sense to me because when my body is in a state of repair and fixing things, it might ask me for more food. One down, definitely. I put me on the list. Oh, great. I will put you on the list, John. Oh, that's terrific. Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate that. Do you like bulletproof coffee? Why or why not? Butter, MCT. When I was still having coffee, I had always butter in my coffee. Um, but I was doing that for a very specific, purposeful reason. I was trying to not lose weight. And so, and again, this is just, I'm from the Caribbean. So let me start by saying that. A very thin woman is not what I ever expected myself or wanted myself to be, because in the Caribbean, having a shape is what is considered attractive. So I'm starting there before I get all the hate from people. Okay, so when I lost weight, I went down 10 pounds lower than I was comfortable, and like, we were on a trip and Pat took some pictures of me and I was like, oh my God. And like, I did not like the way I looked. So I started putting butter in my coffee to bring my weight back up. And I was successful. I was able to put back on about 10 pounds. And that resulted in me being comfortable with how I looked. Uh, Fast forward to today. We went on, well, fast forward to the trip we went on that I just talked about, where I came back and I was 5 pounds less. That 5 pounds didn't bother me as much because I feel like in the time between when I first lost the weight, which would have been 8 years ago, and when we went on that trip, it was only like, I want to say 4 years ago by this point now. So it was a 4 year difference or something like that. I had obviously gained some muscle and all the activities that we were getting to do, that I was all on it. And so I'd gained some muscle and I was more comfortable with the 5 pound loss. And between then and now, I would say that I'm again down another maybe 5 pounds. So yeah, I feel like, and I always just say 80 pounds because when I did lose the weight, I got down 80 pounds, even though I purposefully put back on 10. But the truth is, keto did help me to lose 80 pounds. So I always say that number. Now I'm living that number again. But at the end of the day, like, I am totally comfortable where I am. I think that when you are healthier and your body starts putting on muscle, which is another reason that I think, like, my skin tightened up, and like, you're putting on muscle because you're getting to do things, you're active, you're living your life, then things just, you're not so concerned about the number on the scale. I really rarely check the number on the scale. I check it once in a while because I make videos and I have to sometimes remind myself, okay, where am I in this process and what's going on and what do I want to talk about? And I would jump on the scale to see, oh, okay, like, this is where I am. So I'd had to do that recently for a video that's coming out soon. So that's why I know right now that I'm again back near where I was at the very beginning. But I don't worry about it. I just, I eat what I eat and I live how I live, and I'm happy to be where I am. And so, but when I was doing my coffee, butter was my oil of choice. At some points, I was putting coconut oil, and I stopped putting that and so now I would not encourage any plant oil, because what I really figured out was that coffee and coconut oil, my skin problems came back, which was not ideal. And I think the other thing that I will say, and I figured that out, like, about all plant oils. Like, I feel like we need to be careful and understand that our body doesn't want plant oils. It wants actual, real, animal oils. And so if we give it plant oils, it's building us with plant oils. My hands showed that so quickly. And like, since I've gone back to using only animal-based oils, so I use lard, tallow, butter, uh, ghee if I make it. Um, my body has my skin is back to feeling amazing. So I hope that answers your question. Um, Sorry, I didn't switch to it, but I hope that answers your question, John.
because that's what I'm doing. Thank you. Have a great day. I'm glad you were able to make it for a little while, John. See you in the next video, hopefully. Um, Started my rebounding again. Oh, great. Using you as accountability. Each So a check mark on each of the Monday videos and 7 on each week for the next month. How's my rebounding? So my rebounding is going amazing. What I've done, like I've now that I'm working out every other day, I start with rebounding, and mostly because I find it so fun to do. And my heater just kicked on, and it's getting really warm in this room. I find it really fun to do, and then I kind of can get into the other things. So what I do is I rebound, usually somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes. Actually, this morning I rebounded, and I think I was like around 16 minutes, which when I first started rebounding, I couldn't even do 5 minutes. It was so tiring. So, and even though I was at goal weight, like it was so tiring. Like I didn't think it would be that much of a workout, but now I can do like a good amount. So usually I do my rebounding. I have because I do bouldering, I have a climbing, like a trainer, a climbing trainer. And so I'm still trying to get my fingertips to be like not sensitive to climbing because I don't climb enough just with all the work and everything. So I hang on my climbing trainer and I try to do a pull up. And I hang there for like about a minute or so, and then I get into the actual exercise routine. So the full workout takes me probably anywhere from 20 minutes to half an hour because I'm only doing a few exercises to start, and I'm waiting for hear from my brother to know what other ones I should add to strengthen my core, especially. That's what I want to work on. And of course, just make sure I'm working all the different parts of my body. So like I said, I sent him a message this morning. Sean Francis says, hello, nice to have you here. I'm 65 days in on Carnivore. Congratulations. Congratulations. I love seeing people that are taking their health under control and just doing what's better for themselves. So very happy for you, John. Let's see. Do you find any multivitamins or supplements needed for keto people? The only thing that I am currently myself taking is iodine, mostly because I don't eat enough seafood. Although I've added it to my diet, I'm still not eating it enough. Like, for example, I don't have any day where no, I shouldn't say that. I only have it as a full-on meal, like I would say probably once or twice a month. Hopefully at some point that will switch to being a weekly thing, but I don't like it that enough to make it like a weekly thing yet, but I'm working on it. I've been playing with different kinds of things to eat. So for example, I've been eating calamari that I'm cooking at home, still trying to find the right way to cook it, that I love it. But everything else that I'm cooking, I eat scallops, I eat salmon, and I, of course, eat eggs, which are high in iodine. And since I rotate 4 meals, that covers all of my 4 meals. So I have salmon, calamari, eggs, and scallops. And I have them with each of my meals. And if I decide to have a full-on salmon day in the week, then that would just be a full-on salmon day. I probably would have my eggs regardless and have salmon and eggs because that's how I used to eat it. And it would just be a full-on salmon day. Maybe that would make a lot of sense if I tried to... See, every time I talk to you guys, I find a new way to improve my health. This is why I tell people that it's so good to talk to people about what you're doing. Not to convert them, but just to talk through in your head also, like why what you're doing is good. Like me just saying that out loud right now, saying that, oh, I should add a day where I have salmon as a meal and just have a salmon and eggs like I always used to do, just gave me the idea that that would mean that I'd have one day per week where I'm just boosting my iodine intake with all food. And maybe that diminishes the amount of iodine that I need to take as a supplement, because I'm still drinking iodine water
just much less iodine in the water than I was doing before after talking to Dr. Hampton. So, and I really still appreciate Dr. Hampton to death for sharing with us what he shared with us so that we could understand iodine better. But yeah, like I'm definitely looking forward to what I just said. I'm going to add salmon a day a week. So next time I go shopping for salmon, I'm going to buy enough that I can make some meals out of that. So I guess we'll be back to doing a pound of salmon per meal with some eggs. And then I would have partially solved that other issue that I'm having of how will I get in enough salmon. Oh, this is great. You know what, Monsfer? Thank you so much. I have, for all of you guys that are in my members on YouTube, there's a video coming up where I talk you through some ideas about getting in, like dealing with the financial aspects of eating more protein from fish, because fish is much more expensive than chicken, for example. And I'm probably going to make a full-on video about it. So that's coming up. But you guys are going to get that this week, and everyone else will get it in the coming weeks. But man, it is not easy. And I want to do a little bit more time with eating. I want to know how I'm cooking everything so that when I come back and talk about it, I'm more clear in my own head about what did I learn from this process of trying to add fish to my diet. I have the feeling I'm going to use more oil in this process because at least for some of the things, like I feel like I would prefer to cook the fish portion first, but then I'm not sure that I want to cook my meat in the same oil that I cooked the fish. Although, like, you see, that's the funny thing. Or not the fish, but the seafood. Like when I do pork chop with salmon, for example, which is one of my meals, I don't mind cooking my pork chop for the first portion of the time because it takes longer to cook than the salmon. And then cooking my salmon in the same oil with the pork chop and kind of cooking it all together. It tastes fine to me. For some reason, when you cook calamari, it totally takes over the taste of the oil. And so I'm still trying to figure out, like, what's my cooking process for the calamari going to be? And maybe I won't be using butter for that. Maybe I'll use some other kind of oil. And so, like, yeah, like I might use lard or tallow, depending on what I'm trying to accomplish. So these are things, right? These are the conversations that I end up having with myself as I'm trying to figure out, like, what I'm doing. And I wish it was simpler, but at the same time, I'm happy that it takes me a little bit of work because everything in life that's worth doing, Wellness Warrior, takes work. And if we don't understand that at this point, we're really, really trying our best not to understand it. So, let's see. I have one more comment here, and I'm reading this comment. If you have anything else to say, this is the time to put it in, because otherwise, this will be the last comment. So I'm happy to say that my husband understands how bad seed oils are, only using beef tallow now. Oh my gosh, sing it. I love it. I love it. Congratulations. And the fact that you're rebounding, that you find rebounding fun too. Okay, now I'm so happy that we're ending on such a positive note. Love it. Thank you for sharing that. That's cool. So don't forget to watch Silencing the Food Noise. That video is linked down below. And of course, by the time that I'm able to put it in the end screens, I will. Prioritize health over taste, guys. And I'll see you in that next video. Click on the link. I'll meet you over there. Thank you, John. I'll see you next time. Bye. Today's video is brought to you by my Keto Consultations. You know how to do keto, but you're having trouble just sticking with it? Book a consultation with me and we're going to get you back on track. The link is in the description.